Last class we talked about adding and subtracting polynomials, and in order for us to add and subtract polynomials, we had to combine our like terms and simplify anything that was similar as much as possible. Today we're going to talk about multiplying binomials, and a binomial is just a specific type of polynomial. A binomial is a polynomial with only two terms. So it's things like x plus 5 or 2x cubed minus 1, or it could even be x squared plus 3x. They could all have variables. It's just anything that has two terms. So you'll see 1, 2, 1, 2 terms, 1, 2 terms. So a binomial is anything with two terms. And we're going to actually be multiplying those. And in order for us to multiply them, we use the FOIL method, which is just a way for us to remember what to do for each step. So when we're using the FOIL method, the first thing we're going to do, the F, stands for first. So we want to multiply the first terms. Multiply the first terms together. And the first terms are just the ones that are first in each set of parentheses. After we do that, we're going to move to the outer terms, and we're going to multiply the outer terms together. And the outer terms are the ones on the outside of the entire problem. So the x in this example and the negative 4, the things that are on the most outside of the problem. After we do the outer terms, then we're going to do the inner terms. And same thing, we're going to multiply the inner terms together. And our inner terms are just the ones that are on the inside of the problem. And the very last thing we're going to do is multiply the last terms together. And the last terms are just the ones that are last in both sets of parentheses. So let's look at an actual example. And you'll notice as we go through the examples, I wrote each one of these. I asked the question a little bit differently because there's lots of different ways that we can ask these questions. So I just wanted you to be able to see all the different ways we could ask the question. So the first one says, multiply the binomials. Pretty straightforward. So FOIL tells us we're going to do F, O, I, L. We're going to FOIL. So FOIL, the F stands for first. So my first terms, my x and my x, I'm going to multiply my first terms. So first, if I do x times x, I get x squared, because remember, when I'm multiplying variables, I add them together. I add their exponents together. So an x times an x, I get x squared. Then I am going to do my O, which is my outer. So now I'm going to multiply x and 5. And when I multiply x and 5, I get a positive 5x. So I separate my terms with a plus sign since it's positive. Next, I'm going to do my I, which stands for inner. And my inner terms are this 2 and this x that I'm going to multiply together. And when I multiply 2 and x, I get a positive 2x. And then the last thing I'm going to do is multiply my last terms together. So again, the 2 and the 5, 2 times 5 gives me positive 10. So now that I've done my first, my outer, my inner, my last, I've multiplied all those things together, I just want to look at this polynomial that I have for an answer, and I want to collect any like terms. So I see right off the bat that I have a 5x and a 2x, so I know I can add those together, and when I add those together, 5x plus 2x gives me 7x, and then I'm just going to bring down my positive 10 and my x squared. And now I've answered this question because I've completed the multiplication and I've simplified. So you want to make sure you FOIL and simplify. So let's try another one. So we're going to find 2x minus 3 times x plus 5. So again, we're going to FOIL. Every time we're going to FOIL, I like to write it down so I remember. FOIL. So I'm going to show you a little bit different way this time. I'm going to take my first term and I'm going to multiply it with my last term. So I'm going to do 2x times x. When I do 2x times x, there's really like a 1 here. So it's really like saying 2 times 1 gives me 2. X times x gives me x squared. Then I'm going to do my outer terms. So I'm going to take this 2x and multiply it with the 5. And when I do 2x times 5, 2 times 5 gives me 10. Bring the x along, so I get 10x. Then I'm going to do my inner terms. So negative 3 times x gives me negative 3x. And my last terms, negative 3 times 5 gives me negative 15. So now I've completed my FOIL. I just need to simplify. Again, I see that I have like terms 10x and negative 3x. When I combine those, I get 7x, and it's positive. Bring down my negative 15, bring down my 2x squared. I don't have any more like terms, so I FOILed and I simplified. I'm all done. I could also ask you to find the product. And if I'm asking you to find the product, I'm just going to move this so that we can show our FOIL arrows a little bit better. So if we want to find the product of 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 5, the first thing we're going to do is multiply our first term. So when I do 2x times 3x, 2 times 3 gives me 6, x times x gives me x squared. Then I'm going to do my last terms, or my outer terms, FOIL, F-O-I-L. So my outer terms give me 2x minus 5, 2x minus times negative 5 gives me negative 10x. My inner terms, 1 times 3x gives me a positive 3x. And now my last terms, 1 times negative 5 gives me negative 5. And then when I combine my like terms, negative 10 plus 3 gives me negative 7x. Bring down my 6x squared and my minus 5. So you're going to be doing this for your classwork today. In your classwork, you can do the entire thing on the computer, You're going to be clicking and dragging. I gave you all the possible numbers you could need. I gave you all the signs you could need, and if you need parentheses, I gave you those as well. And you're just going to click and drag the numbers so that you can fill in the answer for each question.